Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center. And it's our favorite time of the week. The coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves are right on the table in front of me. So let's check them out. All right, first up on the table this week is a new version of my first folding knife design, the CJRB Maximal. This is a more premium variant, and this came about because the folks at CJRB said to me, hey David, we would like to do a premium titanium version of this knife with S90V blade steel. Does that sound cool? I said, that sounds great. Here it is. We've got...
put up trunks for a fight, did you?
You know, sounded like a good idea to me, so who am I to stand in the way of, you know...
S90V.
Of S90V, there we go. I was gonna make some snarky comment about, you know, brilliance or something on their part, but yeah, that might be a little too full of myself, now wouldn't it? Anyway, here's the knife. Same shape as the standard Maximal. Outline-wise anyway, the handles here, rather than being contoured, however, are a flat titanium scale with a matte texture, going for kind of that, again, I don't want to compare it to a Sebenza, but going to that like that plain Jane aesthetic that the Sebenza popularized. The Sebenza is still a far more expensive and far more refined knife than this, all things being fair, for sure. But you got that nice, subtle titanium look, stone-washed S90V blade, just over 3 inches, or just under, sorry, 3 inches long, with, I think, a rather nice blade shape for general purpose utility. Thin enough with a high flat grind. It's gonna slice nicely. The only real adornment is this black pivot collar to kind of give it just a little bit of something as opposed to being all gray overall. Milled titanium pocket clip on the back as well, as opposed to the folded deep carry clip of the standard. It is still reversible, however, so everything about this knife still works for right or left-handed people. Ceramic ball bearings, nice snappy action. The action that CJRB gets with their crossbar locks is truly, especially with thumb studs here, you feel it less with the thumb holes in the blades, but with thumb studs, you can really appreciate the snappiness of their crossbar lock. They're doing that exceptionally well. The handle is broad like the original, and being overall thickness is about the same, but because it's chunkier, basically, this is an even fuller grip on an otherwise small knife. So you can get a full-sized working grip on this manageable blade size. I think it's a cool knife. And you got your thumb scallops here, still maintained as well. Of course, I always like those. It's a nice thing. Check it out if you'd like right now. Price is about 180 bucks. We've already sold through a few at the time we're filming this. So I don't know what the status is gonna be when the video goes up, but I wanted to share it with you anyway. I think we're gonna be able to get more even if our first batch does sell through, so there you go. Next up, a few more crossbar locks to take a look at. Well, two variants of one, basically. The Kizer Drop Bear in a new utility knife variation called the Uti Bear, UTI Bear. Anyway, it's a little awkward. I wish they called it like Utila Bear, but it's the Uti Bear. Here it is. There are two versions of it. The only difference between them is the way in which the blades attach to the blade holder here. The Uti Bear 1 uses a pair of T8 Torx bits right here, or screws, I guess, not a bit. Two T8 Torxes, and the Uti Bear 2 uses a toolless removal system. I will say, however, the toolless one is actually a little more finicky to use. You gotta be a little more careful with it, and you gotta kind of pull down rather than out. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of squirminess on it right here, even on camera. I don't want to bleed on camera. I don't want to pull it.
It wouldn't be the first.
Don't want to pull an Eric Glessner, of course. So you don't want to do that. And you can use that footage again here in the corner if you like, Thomas. So, you know, the toolless removal is nice, but I've actually found the T8, you know, the actual, you know, requiring an extra tool to change the blade a little bit easier to use, even if you do need that T8 bit to make it happen. Price on them are really good though, $42.50 for every version except this Ultim version, which is $45.50. The Uti Bear 1 with the T8s, you can get it in Ultim, black micarta, or clear acrylic. And the 2 you can get in green G10 or natural micarta, natural linen, which is quite nice. The action is good. It's got Kizer's version of the crossbar lock called the clutch lock, and it has the adjustable holes on the inside so you can adjust the spring tension if you wish. I've never felt the need to, but that's just me. I think it works great right out of the box. Ball bearings in the pivot. Handle is just slightly shorter than the standard drop bear, but it's got the same vibes and shape. Reversible deep carry pocket clip for righty or lefty uses. Sure, why not? And it's good. It feels, feels like a full-size knife. You've got this area in front of the handle here, which isn't quite a finger choil, quote unquote, but it is comfortable for choking up on and getting right in there. And you can get a roomy 4-finger grip on this utility blade, which is pretty nice. It comes with some spare utility blades too, almost about 8 or 10, somewhere in that realm. It's a healthy stack that they give you, not just like 1 or 2 extra. So that is pretty cool too. Action's good. Real satisfying, actually, very snappy. And the other thing you get with the Uti Bear, such a cutie bear, that you can actually see from the outside in this and the acrylic version. I guess technically you can see it from the end outside on all of them. Metal toothpick and tweezers on both of these, which is pretty nice. Tweezers and ye old toothpick right there. That's cool. You get both of those. And they don't have to go in a specific side. They work either way, which is cool. And just a little bit of added value right there, or a little added functionality on both of these bad boys. Oh, should mention before I move on real quick, on the Uti Bear one, you don't have to fully remove the screws here to remove the blade. You can just loosen them, so at least they're not going to be flying out on you. As long as you don't get overzealous anyway. All right, next up, also from Kizer, a few things to show you from them. We have the Pioneer, and there's 2 tiers of this basically. There's 2 blade shapes and 2 tiers each, so 4 different variations, or 2 different handle things here. It's 4 different versions. You have the premium, the clip point version right here, and you've got the drop point version, which I also showed. The black linen micarta versions of this, whether it's the clip point or the drop point, come with Nitro V blade steel and are priced at about $99. The premium versions of the Pioneer, which are available with this Blue Canyon Rich Light handle material, those come with S35VN blade steel and are at $169 at this point in time. Personally, I think the blue is very fetching here. I'm a big fan of Rich Light in general, and you've got a little bit of almost like micro milled texture on it, so it's not completely slick, but it's got a little something to it, which is pretty nicely done. Blade length is about 3.2. The drop point here is a little bit of almost like a bullnose Skinner inspiration with the treatment to the spine there, as opposed to just a more generic drop point, but it's pretty nicely done. Liner lock, nice thick liner lock there, so the contact patch with the blade itself is nice and sturdy, and the blade itself is not too thick, not too thin. It works nicely with a full flat grind right there, especially the sliciness of this drop point. I'm a big fan. Y'all know I like drop points, right? And kind of an old school pocket clip here. It's inset on the right side. It is a right side only affair in this case, and non-deep carry, standard clip style right there, and hidden lanyard point at the back. It's cool details all around. I think one of the things I like, or one of the things I find quite interesting, is the branding and the logo for, I'm guessing that's the designer actually. Designed by LF.
Florida?
Designer LF. I don't know anything about LF. Maybe talk about it in the FAQ perhaps. But it's right here on the front flipper, and it disappears when in the open position. So it's a nice clean presentation. You do have the name here on the back, but otherwise nice and clean. It is a front flipper, but you got thumb studs, which if you know me, you know I'm just gonna be using the thumb studs every time, because front flippers and I aren't the best of friends, but there you go. Plenty of length there for a 4-finger grip for me with my slightly larger than average hands, but plenty of choke up possibility around the pivot as well. Kind of like the Uti Bear there a moment ago, you can get a nice, generous 4-finger grip on this knife when you want to. Take your pick, premium or less premium, although still quite nice feeling overall on this one. The clip point versions all have the speed holes in the handle. The drop points do not. Next up, we've got a couple small fixed blades. Either one of them, I would say, is pocketable, but the sheaths on them, I'll show you the sheaths first, because why not, aren't set up out of the box for pocket carry. They are Kydex. They come with like the narrow DOTS style attachment clip, although it's not actually a DOTS branded clip, so it is a more generic alternative, but it follows the same hole spacing, at least on the 3-a-side, as the standard Tech Lock. So it's got a standard hole spacing and plenty of variability here on this side to use something like an ulti clip if you wanted to pocket carry this fixed blade. And I think you could do that on either of them quite nicely. The first is a Maxim Epiphansive design, the Buddy. This particular version is the Ice Buddy with clear acrylic handles. I think it's really cool. Also available in Ultim, and the two translucent materials, this and the Ultim, you can see the dog's paw cut out of the tang of the blade right there, which is pretty nice. But if that's not your thing, you can get it in a black and white G10, as well as a black micarta if you want something a little more standard looking. The design's pretty nice. It's got a, if you have a smaller hand or a medium hand, a 3.5 finger grip. For me, I'm kind of falling off the back, but you do have that nice braided fob at the back for that 4th finger of retention on it. Really nice downward curve or downward cant to the angle of the blade right there, which I always appreciate on a smaller pocket-sized fixed blade like this, because you can use the tip a little more effectively or a little more easily, because you're kind of bending your wrist less to actually get it to poke into what you need to poke it onto. And this thing works really well in that kind of pinched poke grip right there, especially thanks to the nice little thumb bevels or thumb scallops here right at the front. Nicely done. Steel is AEBL, which is awesome. It's cool for me to see this a little bit more on some production knives, and we're seeing it from Kizer. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, non-particle metallurgy stainless steel. I like it. I just think it's great stuff. 53-ish bucks on this version. The rest of them that I mentioned come in about 58 right now, but it's nice. Blade length just about 3 inches, cool drop point, bit of a swedge there. Not too thick, not too thin, kind of like the Pioneer right there. It's thin enough to slice well on all your daily tasks, but it's thick enough where you can actually take advantage of a little bit of that full tang strength of a fixed blade if you need to get down and dirty a little bit. And the AEBL with its superb toughness, that's really, I think, its best attribute, are really gonna shine in those sorts of scenarios too. The next is a little more of a straight line style of pocket-sized fixed blade, again with a belt attachment on the knife, or on the sheath. The Jonathan Styles designed Smolt, new version of this. We've had versions of it in before in different configurations, but this is a new one. $62 for this 3-inch drop point blade, 14C28N blade steel, which is excuse me, quite similar to AEBL, but a little bit more stainless, which is kind of its calling card than AEBL, but it still has a nice degree of toughness that its lineage grants it, which is quite nice. Not too thick, not too thin, full flat grind. Talked about already why that is a nice thing. Two-tone, or inlaid, I should say, G10 handles. We got black G10 with green G10 inlays. Or actually, is that micarta? That's micarta inlays. That's green micarta inlays. That's pretty cool. You get that on both sides. The more straightforward handle, while you don't get quite as much dip to the tip. There you go. I'll start saying that from now on.
I only want chips.
Let's finish the video first, then we can get out there. Anyway, even though you don't have quite as much dip to the tip, you have a more adaptable handle, shall we say. Again, for me, it's 3.5 fingers, but I can choke up a bit and get all 4 of my fingers on there if I need a little bit more push in certain scenarios. And any hand size should work pretty well with this. I'd argue any hand size should work pretty well with the Buddy as well, thanks to the way it is put together. But you know, some folks may appreciate the more straightforwardness of the Smolt right there. Same designer, Jonathan Styles, we have the Little Grand from Kizer, a slip joint, clearly drawing inspiration for its style from the Militaw, which this gentleman also designed. So you could have called it the Lilitaw.
Mini-tall.
Liditaw. Mini-tall. Mini-tall. Are they still watching? The mini top. That's better than mine. Good. Well done, Thomas. Credit where credit is due.
I deserve chips now.
I told you, let's finish the video first. Anyway, just over 2.5 inches on the blade. Nitro V for the blade steel, which is very similar to 14C 28N, which in turn is quite similar to AEBL. So we got a little bit of I could kind of say the same talking points between all three of these. Yeah, there are minor differences between the three. Are you going to notice them in real world usage? Probably not. They all kind of occupy a similar vein of the mine of steels out there. Tortured metaphor. Anyway, aluminum handles on this one with Microtech wood inlays. There's also a gray G10 version with black linen micarta inlays if you'd prefer that. That version comes with a black blade, but this one has the satin Nitro V blade right here, 2.52 inches in nature. Similar kind of straightforward handle design as the Smolt. Going to work for a wide variety of hands, or at least it's not going to restrict hand or finger shape sizes from using it due to any kind of ergonomic issues there. We've got not a half stop, but a stop along the path, and it's not super snappy on the close, but it works nicely. And you've got a thumb cutout or a nail nick on each side of the blade, which you don't often see. I wonder, actually, I'm thinking now, are they slightly offset from one another? Might be. So basically, they're like, the tops of these, where they're deepest, might come pretty close to touching on either side. That's kind of interesting. You don't see that too often, but anyway, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. But it's nice. It's got kind of a gentlemanly quality to it. Price is $60 on this one, $56 on the black bladed version, so you can take your pick. While we're talking about slip joints, might as well mention the OG, or the originals, but classics. Case knives. New bone pattern here, the Heritage Jig Honeycomb bone. Some are a little lighter, a little darker. This one is a little bit on the darker side compared to the photos we have on the website. But starting price-wise at about $62 for the Peanut. We've also got the Mini Trapper, which is this one right here at about $64. Medium Stockman, standard size Trapper, Sodbuster Jr., and the Muskrat. High price on any of these is about $75, depending on which version you get. Mini Trapper is a nice one though. I kind of go back and forth whether I think the most collectible case is like the Mini Trapper or the Peanut. Peanut is of course smaller than this, but the Mini Trapper is a nice everyday size for sure. You got two blades, True Sharp stainless in this case, which is just a good basic stainless, does the job nicely. Half stop on the Mini Trapper, which is also quite nice. Blades here are going to be under 3 inches. You've got your long spay blade and your long Muskrat style clip point, or your California clip point on that one. All right, we're going to jump up into the real high-end stuff now. A couple from Remette, a couple from NOC Knives, which we haven't seen before, and then some, which is a new brand to us, I should say, and then some American knives that aren't new models, but we've got some new variants in here at the end. But let's check out the RT-Meteor from Remette. I really, really dig the lines of this knife. It's got both of the Remette knives we have here are doing something a little bit unconventional. I'll get to that. This is coming in at $283, just under dollars, for a 3¼ inch M390 button frame lock. Price-wise, there are a few different versions though. Let me, the low price, depending on which configuration you get, and there's some pretty eye-catching ones for sure, are coming in, let's see, 278 and some change on the low end, up to about 338 and some change on the high end. And that one has a cool kind of silver twill inlay. But this one is the copper foil inlay. And first, like, the lines are just speaking to me. It's really nice. It's got a really cool drop point blade with that full length swedge, lines from the top of the grind line kind of continuing into the apex of the handle right there. And it's a shape that works pretty well too. It's not just a flash knife, even though it's got flash elements. The structure of this is a pure, working considered or considerate of actual usage in its design, which is really cool. No big finger guard to get in the way. If you like to get right up near the edge itself, you've got that capability right here. It works just like a button lock, but it is actually a frame lock. It's really neat. So you can never actually use it as a frame lock. You can push the button in, do that flick in or out with finger safe closing action, which is quite nice. Or you can use it as a frame lock. You can use the thumb studs to open it. It's nice and snappy. Or you can use the front flipper to open it. I never would. That's just me. It's actually a little bit of a trickier front flipper than some, at least for me. Anyway, I would most likely just wrist flick it open. That's cool. To get like, you know, that flickability of a button lock with the stability of a solid frame lock is a pretty cool thing. And you're not even sacrificing any real like edge to do it. Like some of the like the compression style button locks sometimes have to make room for the pass through, but this is just a small bar right at the spine, and they just added a bit of an arm to the top of the frame lock right here that you could push with that. It's really cool. It's got flash elements, it's got innovation, and it's got a solid design underpinning it all for actual utility and visual interest. I dig it. Anyway, this next one is perhaps even more out there, even more innovative perhaps. Here it is. It is the Peregrine Falcon, RT-Peregrine Falcon. Prices on these, this one is $245, depending on which version you get. Again, let me give you the range of prices right here. Oh, this is actually mixed in a little bit. $245 is actually the low water mark for these, but you can go to about $255, depending on which version. It's actually not a huge spread. That's pretty cool. Anyway, 3.4-inch M390 Tonto style blade with a hybrid hole and milled style fuller in the blade. We've also got titanium for the handles. This is the polished bronze finish, and Entropic anodized titanium onlays front and back. Here's your first clue about what's interesting here. First off, it is a liner lock, as you can see right there. You can open it as is normal like that. You've got a safety switch that works in the open position, and that prevents the liner lock from actually flexing out of the way. So you've got a little added degree of peace of mind right there. And the reason they do that is because the pivot here is actually functioning as a button lock, or it is moving the liner lock out of the way. That's pretty cool. So if you want to make sure you don't accidentally push that while you're working the knife, slide that safety into position, and then that won't do anything. It's cool. It works on a wide variety of hand grips here too. Again, nothing too extravagant or too fanciful in its blade shape, just in its adornments. You get that same entropic finish on the the milled pocket clip and the back spacer. In this case, you got M390 steel, again, gonna hold an edge quite nicely across the board. And you get, you know, that buttony type action. It's not quite as snappy feeling as on the previous knife, which I've already forgotten the name of, which is a shame because I really like it. The Meteor, not quite as snappy as that, but that's cool. Perhaps even easier to actuate because of the placement of the button, which is pretty nice. Check them out if you wish. This one, Thomas is gonna love doing close-ups because it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet here, or a smudge magnet on the handles. Don't worry, we'll clean it off, it'll be fine. Next up, NOC Knives, that's N-O-C. And this one's a little out there. This is the Shuukaku, I think is how you pronounce that. And it is clearly, mechanically inspired in its design. Price is about $330 for it. And it's mostly going to these, aesthetic elements right here. And I say aesthetic because, these pistons aren't pistons. They are static. They don't really do anything. They just look cool. And I guess they do form part of the superstructure of the handles themselves. It's a style piece though, more than anything, I would say. Yes, it'll still cut. You've got a 2.5-inch M390 blade after all. Almost a Kiridashi style of blade, but we're gonna call it a
Say it.
What do we say? They say Wharncliffe on the website. It's not a reverse Tonto. It is actually kind of pretty Wharncliffe because you've got a completely straight edge going on, so that's pretty cool. The geometry is a little bit on the stout side, as you can see here as well. Liner lock going on. Titanium for all the bits and bobs here at the back. Nice chunky pocket clip there, also of titanium, and the finger ring. Opening this one's a little weird for me. I gotta be fully honest here. The most, like, you know, this doesn't quite feel secure in my hand when I do it this way. The front flipper actually works a little bit better, but I'm not crazy about how that feels. The most comfortable and most reliable way I have found to open this knife is a way that I can't think of a single other folding knife that I've ever held that I open this way. And that's with the index finger on the thumb studs there at the back. And then I say it and then it didn't work that time. But that is, you know, comfortable and natural feeling with this particular knife for me. Everyone's hands are going to be a little bit different. And this one is, you know, not designed to be ergonomic. Let's be honest. It's designed to be a statement piece more than anything else. I think it certainly does that. And it's certainly built exceptionally well. Like, there is not a single thing out of place on how it is built. If you'd like something a little less out there and a little more useful, dare I say, we got 3 more NOC knives for you to take a look at. Let's look at those now, shall we? This one's actually a really good deal right here. The Dark Feather crossbar locking knife from NOC Knives. It is a 3.11 inch blade, modified Wharncliffe shape, very thin, full flat grind, titanium handles, big G10 backspacer here, forming a really cool aesthetic element there. Crossbar lock, as mentioned. Is this fully ambidextrous? I can't tell whether this is pocketed here on the back. It might be ambidextrous on this side. Anyway, $121 for all of that. That's a really, really good price for what you're getting right here. Hands down, for sure. The sliciness of that blade is going to be very nice. You've actually got a little bit of knuckle clearance, so while I wouldn't call this a food prep knife, if you're doing any kind of work on a board or craft surface especially, that's going to be quite a nice thing. The action is good. The closed profile has a really nice aesthetic thing going on as well. A little busy for the screws maybe. That might be the only thing that some people might have a problem with. I personally don't. 121 bucks for an M390 blade with this titanium handle and these kind of appointments is very, very good. Very good indeed. Check it out. Built super nicely. Next up, the MT-30 from NOC Knives, an interchangeable scale frame locking knife. Frame locking knife? Yeah, frame locking knife. $143 for this. Again, not a bad deal at all. A pretty darn good deal, actually. M390 blade, 3.5 inch clip point style, and the frame lock there. And overall, it is a bit on the chunky side. It's built along that vein of like frame lock chunky strength going on. They've got the slicey option with this right here, and the chunkier options if you prefer that sort of thing. Milled pocket clip, a little bit on the low side. There's not a ton of clearance right there, I have to admit. But the lockup feels really good. The action feels nice, especially with that reverse flick. And the front scale, titanium in this case, is held on with magnets. You just pop it right off and swap to something else if you like. And that's going to work on both sides right there. That's pretty cool. What other versions do we have in stock at the moment, you ask? Well, we don't have any individual scales at the moment that you could purchase, but we also have a carbon fiber scaled version and a Blurple titanium version if you prefer one of those instead. I'm sure we'll probably have some scales to offer at some point, however. Can't imagine we wouldn't, although I'm not the person in charge of buying those, so you might not be able to quote me on that. Next up, we have the Dragon Ball, another kind of that chunky overbuilt style of frame lock on this one. And it's got something a little kind of leaning into that a little bit. You can already see it, but I'll tell you what it is in just a minute if you haven't figured it out yet. The blade itself, 3.5 or just over 3.5 inches with M390. Price on this is about $296 at the moment. Got a dual satin finish on the blade. You've got titanium handles, full titanium backspacer, oversized pivot right there, again for extra strength, and This right here is not a button. It's going through each side. That is actually a big chunky stop pin going on right there. And they gave it a little bit of a character adornment there on the front, if you like that sort of thing. You can open it with thumb studs quite easily. As you can see, you can open it with the fullers quite easily as well. It's even got a front flipper, which I haven't tried yet. Front flippers and I are really not getting along today in particular. Hey, I just opened it with my index finger. I decided to give it a try, and that worked pretty well. Maybe I should try that with some knives a little more often.
Index finger's the new front flip.
Index finger's the new middle finger flick. I don't know. Anyway, here's the knife. NOC Knives, cool to see them here on the site. I got to give it to this crossbar locking knife though. This the dark feather. That's a heck of a deal. That is a heck of a deal for sure. All right, next up, a couple of manual folders from brands that are more known for their automatic knives. First being the MSI from Microtech, MSI standing for Microtech Standard Issue. This version right here is far from a standard version of it, however. $212, you've got a almost 3.9 inch M390 MK blade, that highly precise mixture or a highly precise version of M390. You're pretty much guaranteed, essentially the way Tony Marfione, Microtech's owner and president, has talked about it to us is the variation from batch to batch on M390 MK is so much better than pretty much any other steel on the market, where you can get a little more variability just as a matter of course going on. So you can expect a very consistent dialed in performance from M390 MK in particular. Handles on this one are the injection molded version, Crimson Tri-Grip, and it's got a bit of an orange peel texture to this, which is not surprising because the other polymer versions have that as well. But because of this particular red color, it almost looks like someone's spray painted the knife. But you know, it's not going to wear away like spray paint would. Anyway, you've got the ram lock there, which you operate similar to any other crossbar lock, but it's functionally maybe a little closer to Spyderco's ball bearing lock instead of, you know, dual springs on the side like you would get on something like the Uti Bear, which you can actually see that through the handles there, those dual Omega springs. Instead, it's got a coil spring in the back pushing this big block of steel, which is the lock bar or lock chunk itself, into the spine of the blade. But it's a cool knife. You've got big utility knife power going on with this style, and you can get it in far less flashy colors if you wish. But this one's pretty cool. Speaking of colors, we've got a couple or a handful of new Mordaxes in from ProTech. $280 for this one. Again, not an automatic, not a switchblade from, you know, these are like the two most famous automatic knife companies in the market, Microtech and ProTech, and these are not automatic knives in either of these cases. It's fun, but they do the manuals really nicely. Button lock, of course, and nice action on the MagnaCut blade. Not quite as snappy as like the Malibu that they make, and I think part of that is just down to the bigger blade going on, a little more mass to move, perhaps. That is the reason, but in any case, that's what I'm feeling at this moment as I actually flip it. 3 3/4 inch blade, MagnaCut steel. Oh wait, is it time? We haven't talked about MagnaCut today.
Ding, ding, ding.
If you're still with us, thank you. And MagnaCut is a cool, very cool, very well balanced powder metallurgy, stainless premium steel. Is there any more buzzwords I can throw in there? Groundbreaking, innoventing, vertical integration. No, that's
Extravaganza.
Blowout. No, that's just not it. You still with us? Good.
Sorry.
Thank you. MagnaCut is a powder metallurgy stainless that is both highly tough and holds an edge very well, rather than being able to be stainless and focus on one or the other, or prioritize one or the other of those characteristics. It is able to do both in a way that no other steel out there does. Literally, that's not even hyperbolic. That's just truth. Stonewashed finish here. I always like a good stonewash finish because it actually hides or scratches from using the knife tend to blend into the finish rather than stand out very starkly, which it's a reason I tend towards that personally in my knife choices. But the steel is great, the finish on it is great, and that drop point profile, very good, very versatile for usage. It's a new word, check it out. It's just a new pronunciation. It's French, I think. Aluminum for the handles. We've got a blue gridlock handle going on. Gridlock, of course, being the milled texture going on there. Gives it a little bit of extra grip, but its primary purpose is aesthetic as opposed to functionally adding grip, even if it does that kind of incidentally. We've got hidden lanyard point at the back and a deep carry, or well, almost deep carry, folded over pocket clip, pocketed into the handle with flush head screws for a nice, easy reinsertion into the pocket when you're done cutting. Or if you're just done flipping, maybe you take it out and do this, because, hey, that feels really good. Still with us? That's gonna be the new joke now on, like, whenever I start waffling or getting in the weeds. You still with us?
Still slightly larger than average hands.
I'm gonna say it too many times in this video. The next from ProTech is the TR3 Integrity. Started life as, or the TR3 started life as an automatic knife, but the Integrity versions are manual. They added some thumb studs, took away the firing spring on the inside, and it's really, really good. Really, really good. Really, 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 really. You still with us? Man. $270 for this version. Green for the aluminum handles with green relic handles. I guess that's the name of the pattern here, green relic. It's pretty cool. It's almost a series of interlocking triangles, raised or lowered alternatively. And this does add a little bit more grip than on the Mordax we just looked at. I'm especially happy to see this available as a manual knife because as much as I like an automatic, just closing a knife like this without the automatic springs is just so much easier, personally. And I've always stood by the statement that the TR3 is one of my favorite everyday carry knives that, or patterns that ProTech makes. I love the shape overall. You got a 3 3/8 inch long blade here. The drop point, again, highly adaptable. You got a nice acute tip. The tip drops a little bit more than on something like the Mordax, so you can poke a little more easily with it. You got a nice pad here on the back for your thumb with the way that handle is put together. And you've got that famous ProTech build quality going on. Action is so good. Action is so good on this particular knife. Highly recommended. Next up, last but not least, we have a budget knife to round things out. I kept the colors kind of at the end a little bit. This is the Lis, or the Liz, L-I-S, from Petrified Fish. A larger knife, you've got a 3.9 inch blade here, 10 CR series stainless, which I'd put in a similar category to stuff like VG10 and stuff like that. So, you know, good quality stuff for sure. 45 bucks for this knife. That's something Petrified Fish always kind of astonishes us with, is how much you get for how little amount you have to pay for it. Purple G10 on this one. Several flavors are available if you're not a grape jelly fan. You've got a reversible wire deep carry pocket clip, lanyard point at the back, button lock and thumb studs. That button lock action is nice. Give me a little bit of bounce there on the close. I have to get used to it a little bit, but the open is nice. That finger safe closing action is always appreciated. Thumb stud action is especially nice. And you do have some fullers here. Let me see if I can reverse flick it. Haven't tried it yet. It's a little finicky for that, so it's not working for me. Should I try the index finger flip? Yeah, there's a reason that doesn't really work on most knives. It's not going here. Just use the thumb stud. It's gonna be nice. Technically, is that a straight back spine? That is a straight spine. I was about to say, almost looks like a drop point, but that's a straight spine, even if it is angled down a little bit. Little bit of knuckle clearance going on here, but it's a bit on the chunky side to be a true, like, you know, chefy, you know, kitchen-y style knife. But it puts the belly of this knife at a really nice spot if you wanted to use this table side. And this would be a great, you know, EDC steak knife in my opinion. Also has a good feel in the hand. Like if you want to push it into some heavier work instead of just classily and calmly slicing your meat. Plenty of chunk there to do big jobs with. A stonewashed finish again, and not too thick, not too thin. So you could get some serious work done for that. For 45 bucks for that amount of steel, it's a lot. Anyway, that's all we have for today, folks. If you have any questions or comments about the knives, leave them down below. Let me know what you liked, let me know what you disliked. People usually are more apt to talk about things that make them angry, so. This is a safe space for you. Please feel free. You still with us? Good.
Comment if you are.
Comment if you are. Oh boy. Anyway, thanks for sticking around, folks. Sorry I'm feeling punchy here at the end of the video. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, which lets you earn free money towards future knives, or our new Sezzle payment options, so you can make some of these more expensive knives a bit more manageable. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.
Diaper shapes.
Ooh, almost forgot.